This is the video for your Investigation 3 review. With this video, you can skip ahead or move back as often as you like. If you are just curious if your answers are correct, then you can skip through the work. If your answers are incorrect, I encourage you then to go back, watch how I solve it so that you can understand for the quiz. Here are your answers for the vocab. Remember, vocab is always a fair option for any test or quiz, and I could ask you for an example of something, or it could be something like this where I give you an example or a definition and you match it up. Looking at the table, independent and dependent variables, remember the first column always represents your X, and the second column will always represent your Y. That means for independent is our X value, dependent our Y value. So independent would be the depth, and the dependent would be the temperature. So now you can see the ordered pairs from the table. Remember, ordered pairs come from basically putting parentheses around the two numbers that are across from each other, therefore including one X and one Y that could be graphed. Before putting your ordered pairs on the graph, the things that are showing up right now are things you should always have. You should always have your title. I want you to have your Y-axis and your X-axis labeled, and I want you to put on the appropriate descriptions of what they represent. Now, the one thing I don't have on here yet, but you have to include, are the numbers. So you need numbers on your Y, and I'm going to actually use this last one because I'm running out of space, numbers along the X. And if you graphed yours differently than mine, that's fine. Remember, you want to be looking that it's creating the same general shape. Alright, so there my points are graphed. Along the x-axis, I chose that every line would be worth 25. And then going up on the y-axis, I chose every line to be worth 2. Again, you could have chosen something different, but hopefully you can see that the general thing is where your points are going in this downward shape. Alright, first thing here are the answers for each of the order of operations or PEMDAS questions. So 9 equals 14, 10 equals 13, 11 equals 71, and 12 equals 76. If you have those correct, you can go ahead and skip forward in this video to your last question on the table. If you have one wrong, make sure that you go to that question or skip ahead, whatever you need to do, to watch the process of how to solve it accurately to get the correct answer. Alright, here you can see the work for number 9. Then you have the PEMDAS steps for number 10. Here you can see my work for number 11. And there are the steps for number 12. Remember, you guys can combine a few steps together, but I do need to see work of how you thought about the order of operations. Alright, last question where you need to find an equation. Remember, we've been working on how to go from a table to an equation. That's one of our learning targets. And the one thing that you want to look for, as long as the X values are going up by 1, is what is the rate of change. So between 7 and 10, it's a 3. And between 3 and 4, it's also a 3. So there, it's a pretty good indication that in this formula, where M is our rate of change, it's going to be, instead of the variable, it's going to be the number 3. But you always have to test if that's going to be enough. So let's run a test. I'm going to use the value 3 and put it in place of my x. That means that I'm going to have y equals 3 times 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, but according to my table, I need y to equal 10. And 3 times 3 is 9. 10 does not equal 9. So that means that in our initial equation, we need to do something else. In order for the 9 to become a 10, I will add 1. Now let's see if that ends up working out by using a next group of numbers. Let's see if we can do that with the 4 and the 13. So that means that 13 has to equal 3 times 4 plus 1. Following order of operations, 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1. Yes, it does equal 13. So this is my equation. The biggest thing is looking for your rate of change and plugging it in to the m. Hope you guys found this helpful and feel set and ready for the quiz.